Look, I'll be the first to admit it. I'm absolutely obsessed with the John Wick movies. A retired hitman, a stolen car, and a puppy that launched 1,000 headshots. This franchise had me hooked from that moment the first shell casing hit the floor. The choreography, the world building, the sheer audacity of it all. John Wick redefined action cinema for a whole new generation. But if we're being honest, did anyone actually expect a simple revenge story to explode into an entire cinematic universe? Suddenly we've got spin-offs, prequels, and a criminal underworld so deep you need a map just to keep up. That's just the time we live in, I guess.
You suck, you jackass.
Howdy, and thanks for clicking on this video to see what this jackass has to say. I appreciate ya. So today, I'm ranking every John Wick movie, including the Continental series, because why the hell not? Right before Ballerina drops and changes the game again.
You sure about that?
Or at least adds a sexy new player. Which chapter stands tall above the rest? Did the Continental earn its place in the Wick legacy, or should it have stayed behind the hotel desk? Do me a favor and stick around, because these results might surprise you. That's a bit hyperbolic. I'm not sure my picks are much different than most, but anyway. Let's dive into the world of assassins, gold coins, and more mayhem than you can shake a pencil at. The John Wick universe began as a simple revenge story in 2014, a retired hitman seeking vengeance for his murdered dog. But it's evolved into one of the most compelling action franchises of the modern era, hell, in cinematic history. What I think makes this universe so exceptional is its meticulous world building around a shadowy criminal society governed by strict codes. Neutral ground hotels like the Continental, and the mysterious high table that rules over all. This franchise brilliantly balances intimate, character-driven storytelling with increasingly elaborate mythology. And this in turn creates a lived-in underworld where assassins operate with honor-bound rules and gold coin currency. I just think that's so cool. From Keanu Reeves' iconic portrayal of the legendary Baba Yaga to the stunning choreography that redefined action cinema, John Wick has grossed over $1 billion worldwide and earned critical acclaim as one of the greatest action series ever made. What really started as a modest revenge thriller has transformed into a sprawling multimedia franchise that proves sometimes the best universes are built one perfectly choreographed fight scene at a time. Anyway, let's get on with the list. Coming in at number 5, we have the Continental series. Look, this series was pretty cool, but I'm honestly not sure it really had any reason to exist. Don't get me wrong, there's some genuinely great set pieces here. The 1970s New York aesthetic is absolutely gorgeous with that gritty, grimy, street-level crime vibe that feels completely different from the sleek modern Continental we know and love today. The action sequences are choreographed with precision and deliver that brutal, intense combat we expect from this universe. And I wouldn't be doing my job if we didn't talk about Mel Gibson as Cormac. This dude is probably the best villain in the entire John Wick universe, in my humble opinion, of course. He's ruthless, brutal, yet capable of charm, playing this complex mentor-turned-tormentor role to perfection. I mean, Gibson's a great actor, and in this particular role, he brings real menace to the screen in a way that feels genuinely threatening. But here's where the whole thing kind of falls apart. The pacing lacks the sharp edge of the films. The narrative relies too heavily on familiar tropes, and the character development is really uneven. While I think it successfully expands the world and gives us Winston's backstory, it doesn't really feel essential to the larger story. The series is entertaining enough, but it's not rewatchable like the movies are. You watch it once, appreciate the craftsmanship, and then move on with your life. Ultimately, the Continental doesn't leave a lasting impression on the franchise as a whole. It's just kind of there, existing in the shadow of something much, much greater. John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum lands at number 4. And let me just be clear here, this is a great, rewatchable movie that delivers everything you want from this franchise. From here on out, I love all these movies, and it really just depends on how you order them. This one comes in at number 4. What I love about it is that the action sequences are absolutely phenomenal, with some of the most creative and brutal choreography in the entire series. That opening library fight with the book kill is iconic. The motorcycle chase through Brooklyn, pure adrenaline. And I could go on and on about the glass room finale. It's visually stunning and relentlessly intense. I thought Halle Berry was a welcomed addition as Sophia, bringing her own brand of badass energy, and those incredible dog action sequences in Casablanca. Seriously, I think that's one of the cooler action sequences in the entire franchise. The film maintains that perfect balance of brutal efficiency and dark humor that makes these movies so damn rewatchable. But here's where I think it stumbles just a little bit. Chapter 3 really began expanding the mythology in ways that sometimes felt way too convoluted. We're introduced to the High Table, the Adjudicator, multiple crime syndicates, and John's backstory is Jardani Jarvanovic. All of which are fascinating concepts, but the pacing suffers when the film tries to juggle world building with non-stop action. Some sequences, particularly in the middle act, drag on longer than necessary and feel completely disconnected from the core story. The 2-hour plus runtime shows its weight, and while the action is spectacular, there are moments where the mythology feels more important than the character we came to see. At the end of the day, it's still a great time overall with some of the series' best action, but it's the first film where you can feel the franchise starting to prioritize universe building over pure focused storytelling. Landing at number 3 is John Wick 2. So this movie picks up right where its predecessor left off, literally within hours of the first film's ending. We get that incredible opening car chase sequence where John retrieves his beloved Mustang, and it's pure synchronized ballet violence that sets the tone perfectly. The action sequences in Chapter 2 are absolutely spectacular. The Catacombs shootout is a masterclass in choreography, the Hall of Mirrors finale is visually stunning, and that subway knife fight feels like a nod to the Raid 2. Super underrated movie, by the way, go check it out. This film expands the assassin underworld brilliantly, introducing us to the Continental's rules, the marker system, and fascinating characters like the Bowery King played by Lawrence Fishburne. Side note, great to see Morpheus and Neo back together again.
He is the one.
But here's where I think it stumbles slightly. The motivation feels more forced than the emotional drive of the first film. This time, John's pulled back into the world through obligation rather than pure vengeance, which reduces some of the emotional stakes. The pacing occasionally drags during the world-building segments, and while the mythology is fascinating, it sometimes overshadows the character-driven story that made the original so compelling. All that to say, this is still a phenomenal action film. The violence is more audacious and brutal than its predecessor, the humor is surprisingly effective, and the craftsmanship is undeniable. It's a great movie with great action, a solid story, and excellent stunts that successfully builds the foundation for everything that follows. And the OG John Wick takes the number 2 spot. Honestly, it's remarkable this movie even exists. This film went through absolute production hell. Basil Iwanek was paying for wardrobe on credit cards. Keanu Reeves and David Leitch were investing their own money. And then Eva Longoria had to provide a last-minute $6 million save just to keep production alive. By the way, money very well spent. Industry executives were dismissive of an all-action film by first-time directors, and Lionsgate only picked up distribution 2 months before its release. But here's the thing, the OG still contains the most heart out of any of these movies. That devastating origin story, losing his wife Helen to terminal illness, then having Russian thugs kill his adorable beagle Daisy, his final connection to his wife. This brought the Baba Yaga out of retirement in the most emotionally compelling way possible. The grief and psychological connection audiences feel with John's loss is what drives the entire franchise. Once that emotional foundation's set, it's balls to the wall action. The Red Circle nightclub shootout is an absolute masterpiece. Bass-heavy music pounding your heart, while John displays impeccable accuracy through flashing lights and drunk partygoers. The home invasion sequence and the final confrontation with Vigo showcase the revolutionary gun fu style that blended firearms with martial arts. The cons of this one are that the mythology really does feel smaller compared to later films, and I think there's a couple pacing issues in the middle act, but what you can see is the incredible potential it had for creating this entire universe. This is a classic, an all-time action film that truly cemented Keanu Reeves' place as one of the greatest action stars in cinema history. It's pure, focused storytelling at its finest. And taking the number 1 spot is John Wick 4. Yeah, I know, this movie has a bloated 3-hour runtime, but here's the thing, it's perfectly paced. Chad Stahelski somehow manages to cram an awful lot of story, otherworldly action, and some of the biggest stakes of the franchise into those 169 minutes without it ever feeling excessive. At least to me. The action sequences in Chapter 4 are absolutely legendary. The stair fight towards the end is pure cinematic perfection. John climbing over 220 steps while every assassin in Paris converges on him, only to get thrown back down to the bottom and to start again. The bird's eye view overhead shot during the Paris sequences rivals Orson Welles' touch of evil for sheer technical brilliance. The Osaka Continental assault is phenomenal, and don't even get me started on those Dragon's Breath shotgun blasts that turn enemies into literal fireballs. It's undeniably the most visually spectacular weapon in the entire franchise. What I think sets Chapter 4 apart and makes it the best is its smart structure. John completing side missions on his way to the ultimate duel with the Marquis creates natural breathing room between the insanity. The film barely packs in more than 4 full-scale action sequences, but each one feels distinct and pushes the boundaries of what's possible. The emotional weight of John's journey toward freedom gives every bullet fired real meaning in this one. I know, the runtime might intimidate some viewers, and the mythology really does get dense in this movie, but honestly, I think it ended in perfection. I mean, do we really need a John Wick 5? I don't think so, but, you know, the box office could use the money, I guess. This is an all-timer as far as action films are concerned, setting a new standard that will force other filmmakers to lose sleep over their action sequences. The outrageous and creative action sequences are those of legend. And there you have it, my definitive ranking of the John Wick universe right before Ballerina drops and potentially shakes everything up. Highly unlikely though.
I just hope it's good stuff.
From the Continental's solid but forgettable expansion to Chapter 4's legendary 3-hour masterpiece, this franchise has really given us some of the most innovative and brutal action cinema of the 21st century. Speaking of Ballerina, I really hope it can be a decent addition to the lore, even with all that ridiculous embargo nonsense we've been hearing about. Lionsgate's attempt to gatekeep and only allow enthusiastic early reactions while blocking criticism until June 4th is honestly embarrassing and makes me more nervous about the film's quality than any behind-the-scenes drama ever could. When a studio has to manipulate the conversation before anyone even sees the movie, that's never a good sign. But we all know Ana de Armas is incredibly talented
And fun as hell.
Chad Stahelski knows this universe better than anyone, and the John Wick brand has earned enough goodwill that I'm cautiously optimistic. Maybe Ballerina will surprise us all and prove that this universe still has room to grow in meaningful ways. I'm more interested in what you think. Does my ranking match yours, or would you shake things up completely? Drop some of your own rankings in the comments below. I genuinely want to know where you'd place each entry and why. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into action franchises that probably shouldn't exist but somehow became cultural phenomena. It's not just a dog, it's about the world we build around the things we love. As always, the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone, but what the hell do I know? I'm but a mere jackass. I'll try to do better next time. Catch you later, friends.
That talks too much. I'm just a jackass of all trades, don't know shit. I keep on talking, acting like I'm so legit. From politics to sports, I'll spout